Greetings, brothers and sisters. The issue of salvation is one of the most explicit ways within which we can reflect on God's presence amongst His own creation. You'll find the creative story from Adam and Eve, the first days of creation, to the unfolding of the Old Testament with the law, with the covenants, with the writings and the messages of the prophets, kings, and even the psalmist himself. As God reveals this dimension of a God who is present, a God who is amongst his own people, we continuously recognize as well that the unfolding of the Old Testament continuously speaks of a God who will come amongst his people, the Messiah, who presents himself to his own. What is particularly challenging, however, is the way that God reveals himself goes contrary to what the rest of humanity was anticipating. God does not come as this mighty conqueror who shows his power, who shows his strength in a way that people have to be shaken, to present himself in a way that rocks the world in a certain sense. But we find this particularly in the gospel reading today. When God finally reveals himself, as Paul says in the second reading today, this wisdom that has made itself known to humanity, he does it in two particular ways: love and reconciliation. The gospel reading today presents this idea of a God who calls us to be love, to embrace love. And when that love has been embraced, to seek forgiveness and reconciliation. And this is exactly how God presents himself in the beauty of the incarnation story. God comes amongst us. He comes in the image of a child. He becomes one of our own, walking with us, experiencing our human experiences. And for what reason? The cross, whereupon he shows his love entirely. After having served in his mission, touching lepers, giving healing, being within the peripheries, those who were refused and denied by the world, God touched and encountered. And this love is what he calls us to possess, a love that looks at the other person as an object of his own love, to be able to present ourselves in a way that sees the other person as worthy of being loved. Yesterday we had Valentine's Day. Whether it went well or not for you, that's a different discussion. But love is not meant to be expressed only in gifts, to be given in teddy bears, chocolates, and roses, but to be able to touch those moments of pain, those wounds, those moments of isolation, and to look at this person and see them as an object of your love and God's love, to see their vulnerabilities and still consider them worth being human. And the challenge that Jesus puts before us today is that love is incomplete without forgiveness. Even the Lord's Prayer continuously speaks about how forgive us as we forgive those who have sinned against us. These are the challenges that we find. And today being a Sunday, it also makes it harder because at the end of the day, reconciliation is not meant to be just between you and I, but allow us to walk into God's holy place, to offer the offerings that we're supposed to offer today, to be in God's presence and give unto him that comes from our heart. And God speaks about it as being necessary for that reconciliation to be there. Before you offer your gift, be reconciled with your brother and sister. I want to pray today, recognizing that loving and forgiveness are not easy. We have people who have hurt us, we have people who have wounded us, people who have violated our trust, who have made our lives living hell sometimes. And then God calls us to love these people, to be able to show them his forgiveness and his presence, just as we would to those we love. And I want to pray, especially as we draw closer to the season of Lent, which we'll be celebrating this Wednesday, that as the theme that we go through into this Lenten season, one of those aspects would be for us to have a heart that can be moved by love and forgiveness, that God may enable us to understand what it means for the cross to be lived within our day-to-day experiences. That love and forgiveness be the identity of the Christian faith. I want to pray today, especially for those that will find it hard, especially to forgive and to love. That God not only allow us and move us into this space, but to have the courage, the strength, and the motivation to see the cross as a model. That just as God has loved us in our most unlovable moments, we too may learn to do the same for others. God bless you.